And as I always say, choose or be chosen, because you boys will be chosen, and probably by a girl who your friends will call Big Deb. How's it going there, James? How's that Big Deb doing? I saw her at the local 31 Flavors putting down an Oreo ice cream cake. Damn, bro, she could put it down. You're like, yeah, thanks, man. Big Deb. She chose me, I didn't chose her. Maybe Muffin Top Mary, Camel Toe Krista, Unibrow Sally, Trailer Swift, Skeleton Amy, Double Wide Matilda, Unfrozen Cave Woman Caitlin, Beef Curtain Betty, Cankle Carla, Camel Toe Tiffany, Toothless Terry, or Gangbang Dynasty, right? Hey, how's your girlfriend? Gangbang Dynasty. You're like, oh my hell. She's great. And by the way, any females listening, I'm also doing the best I can to prevent you from meeting a guy named Needy Ned, Codependent David, Yellow Belly Brian, Unambitious Michael, Date Rape Randy, Conceited Carl, or Beta Cuck Barry.
Welcome to the Unapologetic Man Podcast, the only podcast that's all about self-improvement, confidence, success, women, and being a man without making any apologies for it.
What is up, you absolute champions? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the UMP. I really do appreciate you. So you're down on yourself, bro. You don't think you're good enough for a high quality woman, and you convince yourself not to approach her because you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to talk about. Your mind goes into screensaver mode, and you become that dude who I spoke about at the beginning of the episode, Needy Ned. Needy Ned up in this bitch, Toothless Terry, Beta Cuck Bob. You don't want to be that dude. And I'm here to convince you that, brother, you are a hell of a lot more attractive than you give yourself credit for. So allow me to explain to you why it is that you are a hot guy, why it is that you are a champion. So oftentimes we go into a game like this thinking that looks are important, height is important, our body is important, how much hair we have on our head, how big our dick is. And as I've explained over the last several episodes, that shit does not matter. What matters? The only thing that matters is how you feel about those things. So if you are short and you buy into this illusion that society has sold you that, oh, being short is unattractive, then you are going to believe it, and therefore women are going to believe it too. But if you don't buy into it, you simply choose not to, or better yet, you use NLP to remove that fucked up belief system and replace it with one that says height doesn't matter, confidence does, which is true, by the way. Girls are going to get attracted to you. Why is it that women all the time say the guy has to be over 6 feet tall? Do you think they really believe that? Let's really meditate on this, and I want to talk to you about this, okay? Let's man to man, brother to brother. Let's sit down and have a talk. Your Uncle MarkSing needs to enlighten you. It doesn't matter. They think it does, but as I spoke about in a recent episode, Female Psychology 101, they don't know what attracts them, you idiot. So stop buying into it. Stop buying into all the shit that the media is selling you. Stop buying into what society has gone along with because it's bullshit. She may believe it on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, women are always attracted to the same thing. What is that? A dude who's confident within himself, no matter what physical limitations they have, how ugly they may be, how much money they have, or any other bullshit that you've sold yourself. So immediately we understand that whatever limitation that you're using as an excuse, and by the way, all your excuses are lies. Any limitation that you're using as excuse is just that, a fucking lie, bro, Tendo. It doesn't mean shit, and any excuse is an illusion. So in this episode, I want you to indulge me and I want you to indulge yourself. Let's put that all to the side, and all of us have a blank slate. Okay, every one of us is starting on the same level, and now we're gonna look at you and all the shit that you've been through. Let me ask you this. The crap that you've been through, people bullying you in school, which happens to a lot of my clients, teachers, parents, siblings ripping on you and giving you bullshit belief systems, people teasing you with some kind of lighthearted joke like Chubby Charles, oh, here comes Chubby Charles, or here comes Trailer Swift, and they're just making fun of you out of lightheartedness, but you take it to heart and you became insecure because of it. I want to postulate to you that all that shit you've been through, and believe me, most guys listening have been through a lot of shit. All that shit that you've been through actually builds you up as a man. As Eckhart Tolle says, if you hadn't gone through what you've gone through, you wouldn't have any depth to you as a person. Let me ask you, brother. Yes, you listening. No, not the other guy. I am talking to you. You and I are sitting down around the campfire and we're having a fucking talk. What have you been through? Let's go back to childhood. Wow, that was a gnarly couple years, wasn't it? Whoa, that person said that to you? Oh shit, that girl did that to you? That guy did that to you? That coach said that? That teacher made you feel that way? Fuck, bro, you went through that trauma? You lost that person? Ooh, you got rejected by that girl? Ooh, you did premature ejaculation? I hear you. I've been there too. Oh, somebody cheated on you? Happened to me too. Oh, your parents got divorced. Your dad died. Your mom died. You had to have certain surgery. You have a malady. You didn't grow tall enough. You don't have enough hair on your head. Your dick is too big, too short. You look like a chicken McNugget with tits. All of us, including, yes, you, brother, have some shit that we've been through. But as Eckhart Tolle said, if you hadn't gone through that, there would be no depth to you as a person. So now we're going to reframe this a little bit. I want to postulate to you, and by the way, this is the truth, so I really want you to consider it. The more shit you've been through, the more attractive you can be. Why? Because as I always talk about, women are attracted to what? Your survivability. What is survivability? Let's break down that word. Survive, ability, your ability to survive. So you've been through a lot of shit. Did it kill you? Probably not, because you're listening to this right now, unless you're listening to it from the afterlife, which I guess could be possible. But I'm assuming most of you guys are living. You're still here. You haven't killed yourself. It hasn't fucking killed you. And what's the old cliche saying, right? You know what I'm going to say? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So you've been through a lot of shit. How do I know this is true? You wouldn't be listening to this unless you had. I guarantee you 90% of you guys aren't just listening to this because the only time you can get your dick wet is in the shower. Yeah, that's a motivator, but for the vast majority of you guys, you've been through hell. And I want to commend you for that hell that you've been through because you, my friend, are a fucking warrior. So instead of insulting yourself because they called you Beanpole Barry, which by the way, they used to call me Deer Legs, just so that you and I can relate on that. Instead of insulting yourself on that, let's flip it, reframe it, and say, dude, I've been through hell. I am a fucking warrior. I'm proud of myself for that. Why am I proud of myself? Because the more shit you go through, the higher your evolution. And that, in my opinion, boys, is the whole reason we're here. I was listening to a spiritual master who said, the way your evolution works is a lot like a rubber band. The more that rubber band gets pulled back into darkness, which is traumas, people insulting you, having low self-esteem, bad belief systems, having all kinds of crap happen to you in the negative, when you let that go, and that's the real euphemism, isn't it? Letting it go, it goes that much further into the light. It goes that much further in the other direction. So now we're looking again at survivability. You have been through all this shit. You've had that rubber band pulled back into darkness. And now, because you're listening to this, you're ready to evolve, which means you've let go of that shit, or at the very least, you're willing to, and go that much more into light. What is light? It is developing yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself, becoming that next best version of yourself, of the greatest idea you ever had about who you really are. And that is the point of life. So you're sitting there looking at a hot girl and you're like, oh, she's better than me because she's good looking. I can't approach her. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I'm not worth it. She'd be better with a different guy. Meanwhile, brother, you have been through fucking hell. And now here you are trying to better yourself, listening to a podcast like this one. I'm only assuming listening to other podcasts, reading books, taking classes, taking coaching seminars, whatever it is to better yourself. And yet you still say you're not good enough for that girl. So immediately, brother, I am pissing all over your poor me pity parade full of excuses as to why you can't approach that girl because it's bullshit. And I want you to smile and say, yeah, man, it is bullshit. Why am I dragging myself down when I've been drugged down? Why aren't instead I'm clapping myself on the back and saying you're a fucking champion? Literally, bro, like why are you doing that? Why aren't you looking at all the shit you've been through, closing the book on that, and then looking in the mirror and saying, dude, I love you, man. I'm proud of you. You're a warrior, brother. And for that, I have utmost respect. Why don't you do that? Because you're still buying into what those other idiots told you. Fuck what they think. Why are you buying into some 1900s delusion of how life should be or how you're not enough that somebody else told you? I guarantee you, any negative thought you have about yourself, it came from outside yourself. How do I know this is true? Because we are born with perfect self-esteem, which is the whole point of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which of course I use in my program, to remap the brain, not to make you full of yourself or arrogant. It's simply to get you back to that inherent self-esteem that you've lost because you've bought into other people's bullshit. So we've reframed that. Now for this episode, and just this episode if you want, of course, I encourage you to do it well after this episode, but just right now, just humor me and say, yeah, man, I've been through a lot of shit. I'm a champion. I'm a warrior. Okay, good. Let's just hold that frame. Let's even pretend if we have to. This is an NLP exercise. Act as if. Act as if you're proud that you've been through all that shit. Suddenly you feel a little bit better, don't you? Kind of feel like a warrior, don't you? You're kind of proud of those things that you should be insecure about, such as being short or being bald or not making enough money. Now you say to yourself, dude, if I can accept myself despite those things that quote unquote should have me insecure, that actually brings me above other people who already have that thing. Let me explain. You get a guy who's like me, 6'2". Is it really hard for me to be proud of myself because I'm tall? No, it's easy. So who has more development? You, the guy who's shorter than I am and still feels good about himself, or me, who's automatically the quote unquote perfect height and feels good about himself? You do. So when a woman talks to both of us, if you can feel just as confident as I do, despite having this physical malady or this thing that should be unattractive, you are actually more attractive to women because of that, because you accept yourself as if you chose it. Once again, how do you get there? By respecting the fact that you've been through shit, and if you're willing to get spiritual with me, you chose that to overcome it, which is what I believe. We incarnate into the perfect body at the perfect time in the perfect situation so that we can rise above it. And brother, I want to invite you to simply be open to that, at least as I said in this episode. So now you're short, fat, ugly, bald, look like a potato with a bathing suit on it. Your back is so hairy you can make it into a rug. Whatever it is that you're insecure about, now we're proud of it because you've accepted it despite the fact that you shouldn't. Okay, we have that self-esteem now in place, don't we? Now we look at a hot girl. Okay, as I always say, gentlemen, you guys are giving them way too much credit. She was born hot. So the fuck what? How hard is that? How hard is it to just be born attractive? Her tissue, her bones, her skin just happen to land in a certain proportion. And now she's pretty and you're giving her all this credit. Brother, you don't know the first thing about her. She could have a bad laugh. She could have BO that smells like a sumo wrestler that shit on a burning tire. Her vagina could smell like a burning tuna taco for all you know, yet you see her from across the room and you give her credit and say, oh, I'm not enough for her. Now, I really want you to listen, brother, because I've had a lot of experience with hot girls. Most hot girls, and I'm not saying all of them, but most hot girls have a pretty easy hand in life. They're given the benefit of the doubt. They're given free shit without even doing anything. They get led into nightclubs. They get free drinks. And I don't want this to result in resentment towards them, but I just want you to reframe this in your head. She probably hasn't been through as much as you have. Now, some girls certainly have, and I'm not trying to discredit the feminine or women or hot girls in any way, but for the vast majority of them, I'm talking the majority percentage, they haven't been through what you've been through. So can we realistically assume that your development is beyond theirs? Probably. Honestly, through my experience of dealing with you guys and seeing all the shit that you've been through as a unattractive guy or a guy who simply isn't good with women, compared to my girlfriends who are banging, night and day difference. Night and day, yet still, even though you've been through more, you've developed more, you've gone more into that darkness in order to go more into that light, you still say you're not good enough. Can you see now how fucked up this is? How skewed your perception is, how incorrect your thinking is. When you have an extremely attractive woman who's just born that way, and she's in the nightclub kind of shaking her ass and every guy's jocking her, and you're sitting there like, oh, I'm not good enough because that guy who's 6'2" is better than me somehow because he too was just born 6'2" or just born good looking. Fuck that. It's the dudes who have been through war like you, who are the hot guy. The second you realize that, the second you adopt it and begin acting on it, everything changes. I say this all the time, and I'm going to continue saying it for as long as I'm doing this podcast. It does not matter what you look like. It does not matter how short you are. It doesn't matter how fat you are, how bald you are. It does not matter. What matters? The way you think about yourself. I have seen the ugliest dudes walking this earth, straight up unfrozen cavemen who have pulled what you would call a 10 because they simply accept themselves. They get to a point where they're like, I look like an unfrozen caveman. That fucking sucks. I've been ripped on my whole life. I've had traumas from my childhood. I've had meta programs installed in my head that aren't conducive to success. And despite that, I just accept myself. I just decided one day to say, yeah, dude, I'm a fucking champion. I'm a hot guy. And then every single girl goes along with it. Why? Because the way you think is reflecting your body language and tonality. And your body language and tonality is going to affect and dictate what she thinks about you. Here's how it works, boys. The way you think about yourself is the way women are going to think about you. Why? Because they follow the masculine and they are programmed to read into your inner belief systems and go along with them. That's what the feminine does. It follows the masculine. So whatever the masculine thinks about itself is what the feminine is going to think about the masculine. So we're listening to this episode. We decided over these 20 minutes to just surrender and say, yeah, dude, I am a champion, and try on like you're trying on a suit. How's that feel, man? How's it feel to accept yourself as if you chose it? How's it feel to congratulate yourself for still being here despite the shit that you've been through? How does it feel to love yourself because rather than in spite of all the stuff that you've been through? Feels pretty fucking good. How do I know it feels good? Because you are naturally supposed to be accepting of yourself. All the bullshit you've been through was there for one purpose and one purpose only, to spur your growth. And the second you accept that is the second you accept yourself, and then women accept you too. So the next time you see a hot girl, just be like, dude, who is she? Like MarkSing said, she could laugh and her breath could smell like dog breath. She could have the worst personality ever. How much has she worked on herself? Do I really believe that that girl is listening to podcasts, taking programs, doing NLP, trying to get to that next level? Probably not. What she's doing is riding on the coattails of her beauty, which unfortunately for women often fades, and then their life gets really hard. Then they get to experience what we've experienced, right? But usually what chicks are doing who are hot are riding on that wave of beauty until it ends. And God bless them. I love women. I love the feminine. Beautiful women are amazing to talk to, but oftentimes, boys, they're not as great as you give them credit for. I have met some horrible people that were beautiful women. And I'm not saying beautiful women are horrible or good-looking guys are horrible, and I'm not saying ugly people are great. It just depends on the person, and that's the whole point. Before you go up to them, think twice about giving them so much fucking credit. And for God's sakes, brother, think 3 times about how much credit you're going to give yourself, because you have been through hell and you are a warrior. How do I know this is true? Is because you're still listening 18 minutes in or whatever it is. So that's the reframe, gentlemen, because again, the way you think about yourself will dictate the way she thinks about you. And the way you think about her is going to dictate the way she feels about herself when she's around you. Meaning, if you put her above you, she's going to put herself above you. If you say, hey, I don't know who you are. Are you interesting? Are you fun to talk to? Have you had cool life experiences? Are you educated? Are you working on yourself? Are you trying to become that next best version of yourself? Or are you, like many, many attractive women, just riding on the coattails of your beauty and not really working on yourself? Because honestly, who would, right? Where's the motivation? And that's the whole point of life, is eventually you're going to get smacked in the face. Eventually it's going to wake you up, and eventually you're going to go into that darkness. So that, like a rubber band, when you let it go, it goes into the light. That is the point. But what I'm saying is, you boys, particularly you guys still listening, you've been through hell. You are a warrior. You are a powerful soul, and I want you to give yourself more credit. It's all about self-love, self-acceptance, reframing all that bullshit that you've been through to actually feel good about yourself rather than bad about yourself. And then when you go and speak to a woman, say to yourself, I wonder if she's interesting. I wonder if she has any value to bring. I know I'm a hot dude. I know I am the prize because I say I am, because I've been through this shit and I accept myself as if I've chosen every single thing that I've experienced. So let's see what she brings. When you go in with that frame, everything changes, boys. So you're not going to end up with a girl who looks like an unfrozen cave woman, whose nickname isn't Meth Head Matilda or Gangbang Shit Dynasty, as I said at the beginning of the show. You are going to be able to choose from abundance because abundance is your nature. Here's an interesting thing I want to leave you with. I heard this from a spiritual master the other day. He said, life is always abundant. Even when you think it's not abundant, what you actually have is an abundance of scarcity. Think about that one. So if you have scarcity thinking, all you're experiencing is an abundance of scarcity. Why are you doing that to yourself? Instead, have an abundance of abundance and start accepting yourself as if you chose it because you are a warrior. And here's my last thing that I want to say. Tonight, I challenge each and every single one of you guys to look in the mirror, in your eyes, and say, I love you, man. I'm proud of you, brother. And have compassion for that dude in the mirror because he has been through hell. And he deserves your love. He deserves your respect. Even if on a conscious level, you think that he's not good enough in certain ways, throw that shit out because you chose exactly how you are. So accept it as if you chose it because you did. And the second you accept it, everything changes. So that's the lesson I'd like to impart to you boys today. I'm proud of you boys. I'm compassionate towards you. And I love you guys, man. You guys are soldiers. You guys are the unapologetic man army. And you're going to get to the next level by simply refusing to quit, which you haven't done up until now, have you? And I know you won't do moving forward. Keep fucking going. Never out of the fight. Accept yourself as if you chose every single thing about yourself. That is the secret. I do appreciate you listening, gentlemen. I drop podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays, so please stay tuned for the next one, and I will see you in the next episode.